All right, here we go. So this is Revenue Roadmap, where we talk about driving revenue and increasing profits in local businesses. I'm Anthony Karls, president of RocketClicks, and today I am with one of my favorite people here at RocketClicks, Lisa. So for those of you that haven't met Lisa yet, she is one of our product owners here at RocketClicks. So thank you for being here with us today, Lisa.
Definitely. Good to be here.
So today we're going to be talking about content marketing. We're going to be talking just super high level. So what is it? Why do we do it? Before we get into that, Lisa, we need you to tell us a story about how you found yourself here at RocketClicks and in marketing.
Sure, yeah. So I actually was recruited by a member of the RocketClicks team. She and I were coworkers at our former job. So she had found RocketClicks and moved over there and was very happy. We were very, very close. So she talked to me every day and was telling me how great it was and all this stuff. And I had already been in an agency previously, so I was a little thinking she was just in the honeymoon phase, like, yeah, sure, you think this is such a great new place to be. I feel like you wouldn't lie to me, but maybe, I don't know. So she kept trying to get me to come over. She's like, just talk to them. They're looking for more paid people, like, just get on the phone. And I pushed her off, and finally I said, all right, fine. I was looking for another opportunity to continue to grow my skills. And I got to chat with a couple of the leaders here at RC, and they were good salesmen. They convinced me pretty quickly that I was, missing out on a great opportunity, and they were right. So I finally caved and said yes, and came over and have been here ever since. So it was a good experience for sure.
And your background's in paid media.
Mm-hmm.
You've run a couple of our paid media teams here. You're now kind of head of our B2C local team, working with that whole division. So tell us a little bit about why you chose marketing as a career.
I've been in digital advertising since straight out of college. So always been kind of in the digital sphere. Like I had said, I worked at a previous agency. We specialize in like clinical trial patient recruitment. So very niche. Lots of rules and regulations to play with, but yeah, I had found myself there just because I really loved the a kind of evolving nature of digital and of marketing in general. It was very problem solving focused. It was very understanding why people do what they do and how people, think and act and all those things. And it all kind of tied into, one role, so to speak. So I always had a lot of interest in teaching and in psychology and stuff like that, but I don't have the patience to be a therapist. So, it was kind of a match made in heaven of the things that I love to do, but a lot of really hands-on application. You get to see what you make out in the real world and impact real businesses, which I love. So that's kind of how I ended up, in marketing and in digital because of that kind of fast-paced changing nature of it. So that always in agency though. I've never quite gotten away from it, but I just I love the pace. So
awesome. All right. So today we're talking about content marketing a little bit. So before we dig into this deeply, what is content marketing? Like, this is a topic that I think gets confused a little bit, especially when you start. Like, if you're a local business owner, this might be an area where it's not super clear. Like, what is this? So what is it? What isn't it? So let's just
definitely. Yeah. So, content it feels a little counterintuitive maybe to a small business, like you said, but it's really creating a piece of content of some sort of value that you're giving out to your audience, but you're not trying to sell to them. And I think that that's probably the thing that maybe businesses get really used to is there's always a hook, right? There's always we're trying to get that user to take some sort of action, but what really good content is creating something of value and giving it out to your audience and not necessarily asking for anything in return other than them just being an engaged individual with your company and with your business. So it's really creating that kind of altruistic value with the people that you're kind of hoping to become a part of your business someday. So that's really, I think, what it is in a nutshell. So
it's all about creating a piece of content that delivers value to an audience you're trying to create.
Yeah.
So If you're doing that successfully, you're not forcibly trying to sell them something. You're forcibly trying to give them information that's super valuable so that they can take it and potentially apply it in their business or move forward in some way with it.
Yeah.
But they've then developed some trust in you. So all right. So that's the point. That's the what it is. It's we're creating value in the marketplace.
Yep.
So what's the why behind it? Like, why would we do this? Like, what's the point?
Yeah. So the why is, right, you may feel like you're not, quote unquote, getting anything out of it, right? People aren't taking an action and saying, sure, sign me up, buy your product or whatnot, just because you put a piece of content out there. But what you do get out of it is you get that engaged audience, right? You're building a really great network of individuals and a community that, are engaged with your brand, and you just kind of put that out there into the ether, so that you're kind of creating this group of individuals that you can then reach out to at a later date, and offer, kind of the I should say, you can introduce to them the problem that you solve, right? Because you've engaged with them, you've given them this content, and then you can kind of put forth, our business can help you solve your problems, and you've built that trust with them, so they're going to sit down and they're going to listen to what you have to say. So.
Yeah. So what are some? So give me some examples. So what are some good examples of content pieces that are made specifically for creating value that aren't necessarily asking for anything in return? Like, what are some?
Definitely. So the thing that comes to mind on the local team here, we work with a lot of law clients. So they're, providing different services. Some of our clients are family law focused. So a lot of that is, providing services for, divorce or, kind of child care management and things like that. So things where it's really individuals going through a hard time, right? It's a personal experience. It's going to look different for everyone. By nature, most people have not experienced this before if they're maybe going through a divorce for the first time. So really good content in that sphere looks like putting out videos and documentation and support of helping these individuals navigate this experience that they're going through for the first time. You're not offering your services. You're not saying, hey, we'll be your lawyer. You're just saying, hey, this is a really hard thing that you're going through right now. And these are some things that you can expect, right? This is what the process looks like. This is maybe some things you should be considering. Maybe this is some alternatives to divorce, right? We don't even, maybe you're not there yet and you're just trying to understand what all your options are. The difference between, legally divorce and legal separation. Some people have maybe never heard of those terms before. So it would be putting out videos or podcasts or, blogs that just explain that and kind of help people understand maybe things that they weren't prepared for or hadn't considered before having it, be a first time that they're going through an experience like that. So that would be some really good content where you're just building that trust with an individual and providing them information without asking for anything in return.
Yeah. So when we think about content marketing in relation to the 5 stages of awareness, like where does content marketing fall? Specifically, the stuff that you were just talking about, like where is that going to be more often, and then how does that relate to cost?
Yep. Yeah, so that's going to be definitely upper funnel, kind of in the unaware or maybe problem aware stage, where individuals are aware to the extent that maybe they have an issue, right? They have questions that they're asking, but it's in general very, very high level, like very, very high funnel, right? So this person is just kind of starting their research. They're not looking to take an action, right? And the longer your sales cycle is, the longer that process is, right? The farther they are away from being interested in taking any sort of action. So to your point about tying that to cost, right? This is something that is, very much a long-term investment, where you're putting the effort in up top of that funnel, and knowing that it'll trickle down over time, but it's not an immediate return, right? It's not I'm going to put $20 into creating a piece of content and I'm going to get, $20 out or more because someone, kind of signed up for my service. That's definitely not where it sits in the funnel. So.
Yeah. I mean, when we think about that $20 that you just said there, specifically in the family law space, a lot of the keywords that if you were to bid on in a in a paid search strategy that are lower funnel are going to cost you about $20 or more for a single click that may or may not do anything,
Mhm.
versus you spending some resources on developing that one piece of content that once you post it, you may have to update it pretty infrequently over the next coming years, but will continue to add value over and over again.
Yep.
Like you looked at understanding, all right, what about going through a divorce as a, like if this was you going through a divorce as a female homeowner who needs to understand what it's like to do it with a partner who also works and all of that. Like, what happens to the house? Like, how do I consider that? What are things that I should be aware of?
Yep.
That would be a long form piece of content that you probably don't have to update very often, but a lot of people are going to ask that question.
Yep.
Um, and then you're not really trying to ask them anything other than like, here's my brand with good information, and I know you're not ready to buy.
Right.
We know in that space it takes about, for a petitioner, it's about a 3-year research process. So like there's a lot of opportunities for us to be in front of them over that 3-year process before they start talking to us directly. That was another interesting thing that I found over my career is in the content marketing space. If the transaction timeline from research to purchase is shorter, typically the amount of content marketing options available are smaller. But the product like, or a service like divorce, if you're the petitioner, like generally it's going to be a 3-year purchase process.
Yeah.
3 years before you even reach out to the law firm.
Yeah.
And then it'll be much faster once you reach out. But there's a lot of stuff that they're going to research along the way. How are you nurturing those people?
Right. Yep. And the more often that something they naturally find comes across with your, company's logo tied to it, again, it's all about that trust building, because they say, oh, I've seen that logo before, and it was when I did my first search, and now I'm 6 months later and I'm doing a search for a completely different part of the process, because I've, kind of worked my way down into thinking about different things. I was worried about the house. Now I'm worried about my kids, right? So I'm searching for different things. And if that logo continuously kind of pops up along the way, it really builds that trust. Because again, that whole way, you're never asking for anything, you're just providing. So it's a really, really strong trust building experience for the individual customer kind of working through that process. So
awesome. Very good. So I guess last question. So a lot of times content marketing gets intermingled with SEO. Where is the overlap, and why is it not the same thing?
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. So SEO, right? I always go to what's the goal, right? So the goal of SEO, right? And a lot of times we start right with the core content of a site. So it's very nuts and bolts, right? It's very like, this is what we do. This is who we serve. This is the product we sell, right? And the goal of that is to have it be very searchable on Google, on Bing, right? So that when someone types something in and the keywords match, right, that you're coming up in the searches that you want to, kind of come up in. The difference of content and all the things that we've been talking about, right, is a lot of those pieces of content is you aren't concerned about necessarily where they're coming up in the search, right? You just need those pieces of content to exist, and then you're going to distribute them in different ways. They may live on your website. They may live in your blog page. They may live somewhere in your video files or something like that. That is fine, is searchable, and it is findable on the site. But you're going to really, kind of push them out organically across other means. Maybe you have an email list. Maybe you have, you're working on building your organic social following. And that's where those videos are going to get pushed out and live. And that's kind of the biggest difference between content and, SEO is that the goal of SEO is to really focus on like the keywords and the nuts and bolts of the content itself to make sure that when someone types something in, you're showing up at the top. But that content for the sake of content is about providing true value and just answering the question, right? What is this person asking themselves? What information do they need? And how can I provide that to them the best?
Awesome. Very good. So why is this important when we're looking at, if we're a small business and we're looking to drive revenue or increase profits? Why is this something important to consider?
Definitely. Yeah. We see this all the time. Businesses, especially if they're, kind of maybe further along in their journey and they've got all the, I'm going to keep saying nuts and bolts, but all, that stuff really locked in. Like they've got, they're maybe paid advertising in a good place. They're showing up on the local, map pack really well. And all those things are in place, but they feel stagnant in the sense that, they just can't grow because they're, maybe the number of people who are searching for them has been kind of static where it is. Content is such an important piece of growing just your awareness as a business and creating those. I think going back to what we originally talked about was growing those engaged audiences in a really natural way. As opposed to, kind of like we said, like forcing out like a sales hook or asking for something all of the time. So it's that longer term investment where you're just putting content out there, you're becoming a part of the community, part of, the businesses that, maybe you're kind of tied to locally, and building that engaged audience so that then people are sharing those pieces of content organically across their networks, and it grows in a very, I'm going to say it again, in a very organic kind of natural way. And it just keeps churning. You put it out there, and then I think, like you said, you're not even having to update it all the time, and it just kind of lives and grows and creates these really engaged networks and audiences that then you can reach out to at a later date and, kind of offer your services when the time is right. So that's why it's important. It really does an amazing job developing audiences that believe in the business, are connected to the business, trust the business, and will advocate for you. Even outside of their engagement with you, they're going to share it with their friends and their coworkers and things like that. So that's, I think, where the value of content really lies. So
awesome. Well, thank you, Lisa. Appreciate it. Look forward to next time.
Absolutely. Thank you.